I'm Janice Hawkins, and I'm the academic advisor for the School of Nursing. And I've recently stepped into that role, so as part of that role, I needed a communication tool for every student that was in the nursing major, not just students that were in my classes anymore. So that's what I wanted to share with you today, is how I've used that. But I think you can use it in other ways. I use it to talk to my nursing students, but you could also use it if you wanted to set up a faculty group or a committee group, or if you're an advisor for a club or an organization, or any group that you need a continual communication with, that you want to use Blackboard that does not actually enroll in a class. So it's worked very well for me to be able to. Previously, I think what we did is we had announcements, and we would get each faculty and say, can you send this to the seniors? Can you send this to the sophomores? Can you send this to everybody? And that was a little time-consuming to try to make that happen, and of course I didn't have control of that, so I tried this system. I've also Googled how to do a witch's broom on YouTube, so if anybody wants to come to Roundtable, I'll share that link with you.
The NF people need to see that.
Right. So some of the advantages of the, on this slide, some of the advantages of having this communication tool is it's worked very well as a virtual communication bulletin board. That particularly works well for our distance learning students, because it doesn't really do a lot of good for them for us to put up an announcement on the bulletin board that's outside my office for scholarships and things like that, because they're in other parts of the state or across the country. So it's worked very well. Also, I've found that even our pre-licensure students don't read that bulletin board very much, but they do see my announcements. And I know that they read it, because every time I send something out, I always get some response from a different group of students that has an interest in that. So it, again, like I said earlier, it distributes information to students that are not in an assigned class. It creates a sense of community. This has allowed me to communicate more effectively with our students that are across the country without being able to be on the phone with them all the time, or of course an email distribution list of, I think I have about 500 students, would be pretty laborious. So this gets me in contact with them. And also, I like that it updates in real time. So if I get a new scholarship announcement, I can put it right on the site, and it's there immediately as soon as I add it. Other parts about it is I have the administrative rights to it, so I can make changes, I can update, I have immediate access to everyone, so I really like that. It also becomes a storage site for repeat questions, so I think any advisor would appreciate this, or also in your role. But once I've had students email me with a question, and then a second student and a third student, I find a way to house it in this site, in this Blackboard site. And then when they email me, I just send them right to the site, and I'm not answering the same questions over and over again to all of my advisees. Students use it. I have a question for June later about this. It did not occur to me that since this is actually a Blackboard site, students can go to the communication part of it and email each other. So all of a sudden one day I came on and someone else had sent out an email to the entire group that said, hey, free pizza at this S&A meeting on Tuesday. And I was like, oh, I guess you can do that. So what I haven't asked the question yet is whether or not I have the ability to turn that off if they start to get a little too chatty. But so far they've actually used it very professionally and to distribute information that is applicable to them. I've also found it a good place to store my advising syllabus, and I make an appointment schedule. As I go through it, I'll actually show you where I put that. These slides are very dry because they're just a reminder to me of me just giving you examples of how I've used it, and you can take those examples and maybe think of ways that you might be able to use it. But the reason I included this slide is because I found that even though students are enrolled in this Blackboard site, they can't find it because it's not a course. So I put it up here because you'll actually see under My Organizations, you'll see the, if you can even see it that far, but the nursing pre-licensure and post-licensure sites. So sometimes students will say, well, I don't have this in my Blackboard, and I'll remind them, well, if you're getting the emails from me, you do, but they just can't find it. So look around for it a little bit more. But one of the things that I use it the most for is I use it to send out announcements. So I can let students know, it's time to apply for graduation. You need to make an appointment. Everyone needs to make an appointment to come in for advising. There's an S&A meeting. Here's some scholarship things. I send out probably 10 emails a week to them with different times of the semester are busier than others, but I send out different information. every now and then someone outside of nursing will want me to even ask if there's a nursing student who might be interested in elder care for their stay-at-home mom. So I'll use it to send out even something like that with their contact numbers. Under the information link, I have links to different websites that are pertinent for them, like discovernursing.com, or if there's other current information out there, maybe links to the Writing Center workshop. That's a place for me to store links, and also that's where I keep my advising syllabus, my office hours, my contact information is under that. Under staff information, well, I guess that's where I keep my advising syllabus and contact information. I learned through Sandy's course, the Master Advisor course, to make an advising syllabus, and I did find that to be very helpful in setting out expectations for them and how they should contact me and what I can do for them and what they're also supposed to do. And I found that actually the students now, when they're coming in for advising, are coming in a little more prepared, so it goes faster. So they are accessing the site and they are looking around. A lot of them are very hungry for information, probably particularly our highlighters and what are they, the STs?
Yeah.
They really appreciate having this site. Before I had it last year when we admitted everyone, then I would just get emails all the time with tons of questions. Well, now I'm not really getting as many emails because they've at least got something to go to where it's already housed with information. Now, occasionally they'll go here and still have another question, but eventually if I get that question a lot, I'll put it on here. The other one that's been fun for me, the next one is the advising appointments. In that one, I actually link that to the wiki tool in Blackboard. And then I send out a message to tell students you need to come on and sign up for this, and they actually go to that page and they can edit them themselves. I put down a list of times that I'm available, and instead of the emails back and forth, or instead of them coming by on my door and writing their name down, or emails back and forth, no, 12's already taken, how about 12:15? They can actually go right into this, and at 12:15 they just type in their name and save it, and the next person comes behind them, and at 12:30 they type in their name and save it. So that's actually saved me a lot of time in trying to schedule appointments for 100 students. I just send them to the site, they pick one. Now, if it's not advising season, I don't just keep that there all the time. I have a note under it that says email me for an appointment. But whenever there's that 3 or 4 week window, whenever they all need to come in, I put appointments there and they sign up. So I found that to be a big time saver. I've also got my curriculum guides listed. For things like that too, I've also learned not to put copies in here, to send them to the link on the website. That way, if something changes, you don't have to change it a million times in your site. So if it's housed somewhere else, send it to that, link it to that rather than trying to put everything in yours. Other things that have just been interesting, in the externship, I also have that link to the wiki tool. And when I have students who do an externship at CHKD, they go in and create a wiki page with information on that. Here's who you call, here's how you apply, this is kind of what it's like, here's a picture of me and my preceptor. And then when students email me the next year and say, how do I find out about externships at CHKD, I send them here. They know where to apply, and probably under externships, we probably have 10 different ones with a student's perspective of what their experience was there, and that certainly saves me a lot of time, and they really have better information anyway. So each time they do an externship, that's part of their assignment, is to update this site. And then finally, because of repeat questions, I created a scholarship tab, and the scholarship one is a place for me to house any offers that come my way for students, which is a frequent question that I get. But because of the site, I've actually found, with our distance learning students, when we get a scholarship offer, I don't know really who it applies to. But through this site, I can send it out. And this year, I probably had email returns from about 10 different students that said, thank you for letting me know about that, I've applied. And we were able to pick up a couple of scholarships for those guys that I don't think they knew existed before. They certainly didn't know they existed when we just taped them to the bulletin board. So, lessons learned. Like I mentioned earlier, participants can email the entire group, so that does mean that you can't set this up and then leave it. You've got to monitor it, or next thing you know, they might be emailing their discontent with the program or something, so you've got to stay on top of it. The other lesson learned is sometimes you become the expert on everything, and I've had to get a little bit better at that. Whenever faculty will ask me to send out something to the group, even if I say at the bottom of it, please email this faculty for more information, they still email me back because I'm the one that sent it. So I've had to get a little smarter about that and say, no, you need to ask them, you need to ask them. So just because you're the conduit of the information, sometimes in a student's mind that means you have more information when sometimes you really don't. And like I mentioned earlier, students sometimes can't find the page, but it's under My Professional Learning or either My Organizations. And the other part of it is that students are enrolled manually. So initially that was a learning curve to figure out how to get them in there, but now I've got a system for that, that whenever they are admitted into the program, they send in that request. But they can actually be batch loaded too. So if you've got a big group and you've got their email address, they can be loaded in as a group, and then when they graduate, then I take them out by graduation. And that's how I use that as a communication tool.